Hello and welcome everyone. My name is Jenny Fordham and today we're going to walk through the vendor panel and LGP contract usage training session. Today's session is designed to give you practical confidence in using the LGP contracts within vendor panels so you can run compliant, efficient quote processes and get better outcomes with fewer admin issues. While we're getting started, let's take a few minutes to arrive, relax and settle in. We encourage you to give this session your full attention. It's much easier to understand the content if you're fully focused on it rather than doing two things at once and only half listening. Before we start, I would like to acknowledge the Gadigal people of the Great Eora Nation on whose land the LGP offices are situated. I also acknowledge the traditional custodians of the lands on which we are all working. I pay my respects to elders past and present. I celebrate the diversity of First Nations peoples and their ongoing cultures and connections to the lands and waters of New South Wales. There are a few different ways to engage LGP-approved contractors, and we'll go through them one by one. First, direct engagement. This is something you can do if your council's procurement policy allows it. Just be sure to check with your procurement team first. And the important thing is to include the LGP contract number on all the related purchase orders so everything's clear and properly linked. Next, the notice of participation. This isn't really a way to engage a supplier directly. Instead, it's more about letting suppliers know that your council intends to use the LGP contract. Once you sign and send it back to LGP, it gets shared with all the suppliers on the panel. Unless you let them know otherwise in writing, they'll assume the purchase falls under the LGP contract. Now, this doesn't actually lock your council into anything. It simply shows your intention to use it, which can be really helpful. And finally, the request for quote or RFQ. This is the most common way you'll work with suppliers. Most of the time it's through VendorPanel, whether it's for a project or something simple like stationery. VendorPanel guides you step by step through the whole process, which makes sure everything is open and easy to follow and creates a clear audit trail. And as for how many quotes you should get, just follow your council's procurement policy. That way, you'll be covered. We'll begin by focusing on engaging approved contractors and what to consider at each stage. This slide shows some important points in the procurement process. To start, make sure you've got a confirmed budget and specifications, so you're clear on what's needed. And always be sure to follow your council's procurement policy. The good news is LGP has already gone out to tender and set up our supplier panels with pre-agreed terms and conditions, so that part is all taken care of. In VendorPanel, you can go through all the contract documents, check out the available contracts and suppliers, go through supplier pricing information, and run an RFQ via the wizard. Now let's take a look at VendorPanel. On the home screen, you'll see a small graphic like this one on the left. If you click on local government procurement lists, it will open up a list of all the LGP contracts on offer. If you click on the contract name, you'll be taken to the contract information page. On the right, you'll see two columns. On the left side, the person icon shows the supplier level. For example, the first contract has 15 approved suppliers. If you click that button, you'll get a list of those suppliers, and you can click through to see their details. On the right side, the papers icon is the panel level. Here, you'll find all the contract documents like the standing offer deed and the customer contract. If you click through to the supplier level, you'll see things like demonstrated experience, price lists, insurances. At the panel level, you'll find documents like specifications and terms and conditions. And for many of our contracts, you'll also see a buyer's guide. These are available for most contracts, and we're working towards having one for all of them. You'll usually find the buyer's guide listed with the other panel documents. To run an RFQ in VendorPanel, you start by hovering over My Requests. Then click on Create a New Request. That's going to open up the request wizard. And don't worry, we'll walk through everything step by step. You'll also see the 8 stages listed along the bottom of the screen, just so you know what's coming. We will go through these together in the next few slides. So first up, name. Give your request a name. Is it an RFQ, an RFI, or maybe an EOI? It doesn't have to be perfect, just something that helps you recognize it later. Next, if you've got an internal reference number, pop that in too. Easy. Then just hit save and continue, and you're on your way. Once you've clicked Save and Continue, the next step is to pick which supplier list you want to use. Go with local government procurement lists, click Use These, and hit Continue. You'll see a list of categories and subcategories. You can either type keywords in the search box or scroll through and tick the boxes that best match what you need. Here's how it works in 3 steps. First, select the categories. Then VendorPanel will show the contracts that cover these categories. Finally, choose the contract or contracts you want and click Continue. Take a moment here. The categories you select will directly determine which suppliers you will be able to send quotes to. To get the best coverage, focus on what the supplier actually does, not the internal name of your project. Pick categories that reflect the core service or product being purchased, not just the final outcome. If your request could fit more than one category, select multiple categories so you don't accidentally leave out capable suppliers. And when you're unsure, go broader rather than narrower. You can refine things during evaluation, but you won't get responses from suppliers who never saw the request. Choosing the right categories makes sure your request reaches the right suppliers, improves the quality of your responses, and strengthens competition. As a general rule, if a supplier would reasonably expect to see this type of work under a category, then select it. Now let's look at common mistakes when selecting categories. One is being too narrow. If your categories are too specific, suppliers might not even see your request. 2, using internal language. Suppliers won't know your request codes or project codes or jargon, so keep it clear. 3, focusing on the outcome, not the service. So think about what the supplier actually does, not just the result you want. And 4, selecting too few categories. If your request fits more than one category, select them all to reach the right suppliers. And the key rule to remember, which you'll see in bold, if a supplier would reasonably expect to see this work under a category, then select it. Next, we're looking at selecting suppliers for your RFQ. You'll see a list of suppliers that match your categories. Use the filters to narrow down your list by requirements. So, for example, ISO standards, modern slavery risk, or distance. The map view shows suppliers near your registered address. Once your list is ready, tick the check boxes next to the suppliers you want to include. Now, important guidance, only invite as many suppliers as your council's procurement policy allows. And the best practice is to select 3 suppliers. You can extend it to 5 if needed, in case someone doesn't respond, but avoid sending the RFQ to everyone on the panel. It creates unnecessary work and evaluation and can overwhelm the process. Think of it like a dinner party. Invite the right guests, or the evaluation turns into a marathon. What an RFQ should look like, not an historic novel like War and Peace. Step 3 is where you enter your RFQ details. Make sure each field is filled out clearly so suppliers know exactly what's needed. Include your scope, your quantities, your timelines, and any relevant standards or terms. And don't worry about duplicating information that LGP already has. It's all available at the supplier and panel levels. Clear, focused entries here means smoother quotes and faster responses. Think of it like filling out a form like a recipe. Clear instructions get you the result you're expecting. Now it's time for step 4 in the RFQ wizard, your questions. You can enter any questions you want to ask the approved contractors here. You also have the option to make these questions mandatory or optional. Keep asking questions until you're happy with your request. Uploading files, or step 5 in the RFQ wizard. Next, you can upload any files you want to include with your request. These can be in any format. You can add up to 50 smaller files or up to 5 larger ones, whatever works best for you. When you're deciding whether to request quotes or use existing supplier pricing, here's a simple way to think about it. For a standard everyday item, thinking tyres, office supplies, or horticultural chemicals, you can usually rely on the supplier's pricing spreadsheet, as long as the prices are current and match what you need. It's like picking from a pre-packed shopping list, quick, easy, and reliable. But when you're buying in bulk or purchasing services or bespoke items such as construction or custom projects, it's time to request a formal quote. It's more like commissioning a tailored suit than grabbing something off the rack. You need the details just right. As always, council procurement policy should guide your decision. If you're unsure, the next slide provides a quick decision check you can use before you buy. This slide turns the guideline from the previous slide into a quick yes/no check you can use before buying. Start by asking, are you buying a service, a customized item, or something in bulk or high volume? If yes, you should request a quote. These purchases need competitive pricing and a clear audit trail. If not, check whether the exact item you need is listed in the supplier's pricing spreadsheet with a current price. If it is, you can use the existing supplier pricing. Finally, confirm whether council procurement policy requires quotes at that value. Even straightforward purchases may still trigger a quoting requirement. When in doubt, requesting a quote is the safe option, but for standard low-value goods with set pricing, the spreadsheet is there to make the process quicker and easier. Step 6, budget. This is where you indicate your estimated project value. You get to choose if you want to keep this amount hidden from the suppliers or show it to them. It's totally up to you. Friendly reminder, by default, the budgeted value stays hidden from the suppliers, so no worries there. Take your time and feel free to reach out if you want a hand with this step. Step 7, nearly there, dates. This is where you set the important timings for your RFQ. Firstly, the open date. This is when the RFQ officially goes out to suppliers. Close date is the deadline for suppliers to send in their responses, so be sure to give them enough time. Evaluation period. This lets suppliers know roughly when your council will wrap up reviewing their submissions. And lastly, you'll pick how you want to evaluate the responses, either quick select or the evaluation matrix. And don't worry, I'll explain what these mean in just a moment. Take your time with the dates. It helps keep things running smoothly. Supplier query cutoff period, another date. This is the last day suppliers can ask questions about the RFQ. Make sure it gives them enough time to clarify any points, as this avoids last-minute confusion. Anonymity settings. You have the option to choose whether to show your contact details or to remain anonymous. Best practice is to show your name and contact information. It gives suppliers a clear point of contact if they have trouble submitting documents or need clarification. It helps the suppliers feel supported and connected to council and creates a more professional, trustworthy experience, which in the end reduces errors and follow-up queries. Showing your contact details is a small step that makes a big difference. It gives suppliers someone to reach out to, keeps the process smooth, and puts a friendly face on council. Once your request is live, you'll see it right on your VendorPanel dashboard, so it's easy to keep track. You can see which suppliers have viewed your RFQ and whether they plan to respond or not. It's a great idea to check in a few days after posting to get a feel for how many responses you might receive. This can help you plan your next steps with ease. Following up with suppliers. Don't worry if a few suppliers haven't read it yet. You can always reach out with a quick reminder. You'll also notice a decline to respond message in orange or red. Orange means one person in the supplier's team has declined, but someone else might still respond. Red means the whole organisation won't be responding. If you click on Decline to Respond, you can see the reason the supplier gave for not responding. These details can help you see where things are at and decide if you need to follow up. Engaging approved contractors. Tips. You can't outsource your risk to LGP. Always follow your council's procurement policy and processes. Don't request information from approved contractors they've already provided during the LGP tender process. You can find these at the supplier level. Do focus on what's specific to your job and don't repeat the standard LGP specifications found at the panel level. Use the LGP RFQ template available at the panel level to keep things consistent. VendorPanel is your go-to for requesting quotes. It helps keep a clear audit trail of everything. And you can find each supplier's details under their individual profiles at the supplier level. Don't forget to include the LGP contract number, LGP 420, for example, on all correspondence with suppliers, including on purchase orders. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me or your region's business development manager. We're here to help. For more information, check out LGP's YouTube channel. It's packed with helpful videos. And you can also click on the Help Center right inside VendorPanel whenever you need a hand. It's the live chat there as well. We move on now to evaluating RFQs and awarding contracts under LGP panels. When you next log in to VendorPanel, you'll see a to-do tasks list showing any requests that need your attention. So in this example, you've got 12 requests for quote that need to be reviewed and a decision made on who to award the contract to. You've got one request to finalise. This means it's been evaluated and awarded, but you still need to complete the final steps to close it off. I'll explain that part shortly. And you've got 2 requests saved as drafts. These can be finished and posted whenever you're ready. On the right side of your screen, you'll see a list of requests. You can easily preview any request by clicking the preview button. If you want to download all the files for a request, there's a button for that too. Super handy. You can also check out stats for each request, such as who's read it, if they plan to respond, and how many responses have come in so far. Plus, there are some extra options like transferring the request to another user if needed, making things flexible and simple for you. When a request is closing, it means the time set for suppliers to respond has ended. Now you can access the responses to review what's been submitted. Just so you know, once you've opened the responses, you'll see a red box notification. You won't be able to reopen or edit the request. So it's a good idea to be sure everything's ready before opening the responses. Accessing responses. Once you have unlocked the responses, you can view the details, download any attachments, and download an entire response or a full request package. This includes supplier responses. You can do this by clicking one of the relevant icons highlighted below. So the old-fashioned telephone, click to view the supplier's contact details. The magnifying glass icon, view the supplier's response. The documents icon, view or download individual documents attached to their response. Download icon below the response. This downloads the entire response and all attachments. And the download icon on the right downloads the response package and including all responses. Wow. Another tip here is to hover your mouse over these icons, which will bring up the name of what that icon does. Now we'll look at two ways to evaluate responses in VendorPanel. Both are designed to make your decision-making smoother. Quick Select is very straightforward. You can work through responses quickly, especially useful if you've already reviewed some responses offline. The evaluation matrix gives you a more structured comparison. You can score each supplier against your criteria and make a transparent, well-documented record of your decision. And remember, you can add notes, upload documents, and provide feedback. This ensures your evaluation is well documented, making it easier to explain, audit, and refer back to later. We'll look at two ways to evaluate responses in VendorPanel. Quick Select is very straightforward. You can work through responses quickly. And this is useful if you've made decisions outside of VendorPanel. And the evaluation matrix gives you a more structured way to compare your quotes. And you can add notes, you can upload documents and provide feedback. This ensures your evaluation is well documented, making it easier to explain, audit, and refer back to later. In the previous slide, we introduced the Quick Select method as a simple way to evaluate supplier responses. Now, let's look at some of the additional features that make it even more flexible. With Quick Select, you can leave private notes for your own reference or send a message to suppliers explaining your decision. And if you ever change your mind, there's no need to worry. Just use the reset button to update your choice. This method is especially useful if you've already viewed responses offline or outside of VendorPanel, making it a quick and efficient way to finalize your decision. Now that we've covered the Quick Select method, let's move on to the evaluation matrix. This method is a bit more hands-on and structured. You'll create a scoring matrix to evaluate each supplier's response based on your specific criteria. To get started, simply click the Create Matrix button when viewing your unlocked responses. The matrix helps you stay organized and ensures a fair, balanced decision-making process by focusing on the scores. If you're looking for a more detailed and structured way to evaluate suppliers, the evaluation matrix is a fantastic tool. All right, let's get started. First, click on Add New to start adding your evaluation criteria. It's super simple. Just give each criterion a name, a short description, and a weighting. You're in charge of the weighting, but don't forget to make sure everything adds up to 100. Need a little extra help? No problem. The evaluation matrix wizard is there to guide you. Just click the blue link for tips as you go. Oh, and here's a great time saver. If one of your criteria is cost or price, tick the box for it. The system will automatically score and weight the cost for you, making things quicker and more consistent. When you select a response, the suppliers you evaluated are automatically notified by email. Any feedback you've recorded will be included in that notification. And in all cases, your decision and feedback are visible to the supplier within their VendorPanel account. Notifying suppliers. Some councils also send a formal notification outside VendorPanel. For example, a letter of award or a letter of acceptance or decline. Always check your council's procurement process to confirm what's required. And note, recording outcomes and feedback supports transparency, probity, and builds supplier confidence. RFQ tips, handy tip. You can transfer the request across to another user in council in case you're going on leave. And you can also still edit to extend your decision date, hide the RFQ from your homepage, create a template from your RFQ, change your evaluation method, and continue on to finalize your request. When you're ready to wrap things up, it's important to make sure you have selected or declined every supplier response. From the top of the responses page, click Go to Finalize. Then scroll down and select Finalize this request to complete the process. Once finalized, suppliers are notified through their VendorPanel account, and they'll also receive an email unless you've chosen not to send one at the selection step. This final click is what actually communicates the outcome to suppliers. It's the step that closes the loop. For context, the next slide is a whole screen capture of Finalize this request. Here it is, the magic click. One hit of Finalize this request and your suppliers instantly know how they went. Remember, this is the click that actually communicates the outcome. It closes the loop. Once you click Finalize this request, you'll be taken to a confirmation page. You'll see a passage saying, this request has been finalized, along with the supplier you selected and the date and time. So you have a clear audit trail of your decision. If you need to send documents such as a purchase order or a letter, you can do that right away by clicking the Issue Docs button. One tip, hover your mouse over any button to see a short description of what it does. It's a handy way to avoid mistakes. And don't forget, this final click is what communicates outcomes to your suppliers. It closes the loop, it gives them feedback and keeps them engaged for future requests. We're almost done with the VendorPanel side of things. If I can draw your attention to the highlighted icon on the right, the downward arrow, clicking this will download everything to do with the request. This is one of the best features of VendorPanel. It makes document management a breeze as it provides a full audit trail of the entire RFQ process. Then upload the documents into your council's document management system. Next steps, good news. The VendorPanel side of things is now complete. The next few things we'll cover off are documentation, disclosure requirements, next steps, formal instruments of agreement. A formal instrument of agreement is the official sign-off between the council and the supplier. It's what makes the contract between them binding. This is mainly for more involved arrangements such as consulting, construction, or contracts that continue over time. Your council's procurement guidelines will tell you if a contract needs to be signed with the successful supplier. The formal instrument of agreement needs to refer to the LGP client contract as the contract terms and conditions. Check the LGP standing offer deed for more details. The instrument of agreement is a document detailing the agreement between the two parties and is legally binding. Once the instrument of agreement is created, you must send a copy to the successful supplier for signature. The council officer with the appropriate financial delegation must countersign. Both parties must sign this document. Then send a copy signed by both parties to your supplier for reference. Disclosure requirements. GIPA. GIPA stands for Government Information and Public Access Act 2009. Falls under New South Wales government legislation and was designed to promote an open, accountable, fair and effective government by giving members of the public access to government information. On execution of contracts over $150,000, register on your GIPA contract register. Every council has a contract register. Talk to your records of procurement team if you have any questions. So by this stage, you've worked through the full process, from opening and evaluating your RFQ right through to awarding the contract. Just make sure your documentation, communication, and any disclosures line up with your council's procurement policy. That's the final check before moving forward. Once that's done, you're ready to raise the purchase order and you're all set. A few key tips and takeaways from this session. First, make sure you always include the LGP contract number and contract name on any documents you send to the supplier. For example, that might look like LGP 420, minor and major works. Secondly, remember to finalise your RFQ and VendorPanel once it's complete. And for contracts over $150,000, you'll need to register them in your GIPA contract register. And a final tip, don't forget to include the terms and conditions you plan to use. And you'll find these in Schedule D of the standing offer deed for the relevant contract. That's it. Just some small but important steps to keep things running smoothly.